couple questions there right in the bulletin about the sermon. What can we learn from reading the Bible, and what does it mean to answer the call to gratitude? This turns out that the actual readings for this particular Sunday in the church year do have to do with call. The call of first disciples, the call of Isaiah the prophet. And then today we want to remember the call that has certainly been given to women of the church who have served in so many ways. I'd like to think a very positive view of women in the life of the church. My grandmother is one of the ones that really opened for me the scriptures as a very young child. My mother is the one who took all of us as her children and taught us the Lord's Prayer. I remember my mother, she came out of the Roman Catholic tradition, and it was kind of a funny thing. Well, at the time, my mother would go up for the sacrament, and she would always stick her tongue out to receive the host on the tongue. But I asked my dad, why is Mom sticking her tongue out at the pastor? She's not doing that. It's just how she was raised to receive the sacrament. But my mother chose to become Lutheran because the things she loved in the Roman Catholic Church, they had in the Lutheran Church. So it really wasn't a difficult change for her, although she said to me, I was supposed to be raised Roman Catholic. My wife and son and grandchildren say they were grateful that that didn't happen. Some of you know my wife, and I have to say, confess, I know I've been blessed by being married to her. She was the smartest in our graduating class in high school. We dated there, but I always tell her, I think I'm the smarter one. And she says, and how do you figure that? I said, because I married you. You want to make smart decisions. And one of the things I really appreciate about her, and I think women in my life growing up, was that they were people of good heart and good soul. And if you look at Proverbs 31, it talks about such a woman. And we are blessed when those kind of women have come into our lives. I do advise men, it is good to listen to the women in your life who love and care about you. They're just looking at it. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them about everything, because likely you're not going to. But you give them a listen because they really are caring and concerned about you. And the church. But we have these other texts that we're not reading today, but I do want to refer to them. And it has to do with listening to Jesus. Do what he tells you. Do what he tells you. And that's, in fact, those are words spoken by Mother Mary at a wedding in Cana when they ran out of wine. But Jesus, in one of the gospel readings for today, the one where he calls the disciples, he finds these fishermen who've been fishing all night and they catch nothing. Boy, that's got to be a disappointment. They rely on that. That's their livelihood, how they support themselves and their family, and they catch nothing. Jesus comes along. This is what an encounter with Jesus can do with you. It can change your entire life and direction. And thankfully, thanks for me, is the women in my life who helped that in a very positive way. I can say I'm the pastor of the church because of the encouragement, especially by women as I was growing up, and also the girl I met in high school, and her mother, and others in the church. Jesus tells them after this disappointing night, he says, well, go out farther, take your nets out and drop them. It's like, wait a minute, we've been fishing all night and caught nothing. But they do what Jesus tells them. So much so, they fill the one boat, they have to call their friends and partners in the other boat and say, come on over. And they fill that boat, and it's about to sink. 2 boats. They went from nothing to everything and more than they could have imagined by listening to Jesus, doing what he told them. Now there's that story of a wedding in Cana, and Jesus and his disciples were invited, and Mother Mary was there. And in those days, weddings, they didn't last like ours do. We might have an afternoon and evening, they have a dance, they have a feast. You know, today